Arrival is directed by Denis Villeneuve, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. And stars Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forest Whitaker, and is about a linguist played by Amy Adams who discovers that around the world there are these 12 unidentified flying objects that come to Earth, and her and Jeremy Renner have to investigate what's happening in order to communicate with these alien species that they come across inside this ship. And a little backstory. Now, this one is directed by the same director who brought us Prisoners and Sicario, and at this point, I'm really starting to really dig into a lot of Mr. Villeneuve's works, because I think that this is a kind of director that knows how to craft a lot of material and take it like a very realistic manner with some of the films that I've seen. And this film really got me curious because from the trailers, it looked like it was kind of like a cross between Interstellar mixed in with like stuff from like Contact and everything. As the movie goes along, it shows that Amy Adams' character starts to unravel what these aliens are speaking, because as the movie unravels, it appears that the aliens are trying to speak to us in a different way of, like, as it goes along, you're starting to wonder if these aliens are giving us a warning or if they're trying to communicate with us in a different way. And I gotta tell you right now, out of all the films I've seen this year, and yes, I did previously say this in my last video, but after seeing Hacksaw Ridge and then seeing Arrival, I can honestly say that both this, Hacksaw Ridge, and Hell or High Water are three of the best films I've seen all year. In fact, Arrival was really so great that I feel like this is by far my most favorite of the film. Because not only did this film capture so much emotion out of me, and so much really, it got me so involved with the story, I just have so much delight I have for this film that I can go into I can go into a lot of detail of, but I don't want to spoil anything for those that haven't seen it. First off, the performances, especially Amy Adams, is outstanding. She gives one of her best performances I've seen out of her. She's very emotional in a lot of parts. You actually get to understand of what happens throughout the film as it unravels, because when she's communicating with these aliens, you actually start to see something that happens later in the film that you discover of why everything starts to come together, and the way it pulled everything together with the way that it was struck. I got so invested with her character so much that it actually really got me almost in tears. And another thing I really love too is Jeremy Renner. Now, I am a big fan of Jeremy Renner ever since I've seen him in movies like, the Mission Impossible sequels, the Avenger movies, and things like that. And I can honestly say that this is a guy who really knows how to not only mix in some of his really straight serious tone, but he mixes in some kind of quirky, some very minimum dark humor that's present throughout this movie that did make me smile in a lot of parts. And I really got into his character, who's working with Amy Adams and trying to discover what these aliens are speaking. Because as the movie goes along, you start to notice that the aliens the humans are trying to communicate with different ways of putting together all these words for the aliens, and it takes them a while to understand what's happening. But when you see it unfold, you start to notice that the aliens are starting to come across and understand us. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the film a lot. And not only that, but the direction by Denis Villeneuve is so really, the way is so outstanding in this. You have not only great suspenseful, very intense moments where they're exploring the ship at first, but then you have atmospheric parts where you're actually starting to dive in of what these aliens are wanting. And there is a lot of suspenseful moments in this film that really got to me in a lot of parts. And I won't go into detail, but there's one scene where it really, I was on the edge of my seat so much that I really couldn't, I had no words to describe. And another one of my biggest praise of this film is the score by Johan Johansson, I believe the guy's name is. This is a score that, in a way, it kind of sounds like if you took the score to it's kind of like something that Hans Zimmer would probably do, because there are kind of these vocal sounds throughout some of it that kind of gave it kind of a Hans Zimmer vibe. But I'm not trying to compare it to him, I'm just saying it seems like this composer took some inspiration from Hans Zimmer's work, and you can really kind of tell in some parts, the way that it's very haunting, the way that the music plays out in certain parts. And they even have a lot of intense musical cues that are very haunting in a lot of parts, and it kind of reminds me of something you would see like here like off of The Shine or something. I know that's a weird comparison, but that music, just hearing the sound of it, it really gets me into that mindset of it. It's like a disoriented kind of sound. I could go into more detail, but that's really all I've got. I really do love this film a lot, and I can say that this is one of the best sci-fi movies I've seen all year. I'm kind of curious if they make other films like this, because even though this film is based on a short story that I'm not really familiar with, it does feel like an original film with the way they present the aliens. And so I do highly recommend. I really do love this film a lot, and I have this tied as far as which one I liked more, this and Hacksaw Ridge. So I'm going to give this film a 9.75 out of 10. What did you guys think of Arrival? Comment below, and if you guys like what you see here, you can check more of my reviews here, and I'll be seeing you in my next review. I'll see you later.